Thank you for joining the Advancing Excellence podcast. In this episode, AOE President Kimberly Kayler discusses how a robust succession plan aligns with an organization's strategic objectives, addresses workforce needs, and mitigates risks associated with leadership gaps. It goes beyond the top leadership roles and extends to career paths and employee development throughout the organization. Join me as we begin the podcast.
Welcome to the Advancing Excellence podcast. My name is Kimberly Kayler. I am president of Advancing Organizational Excellence, AOE, and I'm excited to come to you today and talk a little bit about succession planning. So when I talk about succession planning, one of the first things that I like to ask people is what they think of when I say that, when I mention succession planning. And typically the answer is a replacement, the heir apparent, who's going to take Joe or Sally's job. And while succession planning does involve identifying and developing new leaders to replace old ones that may leave or retire or even pass away, it's really key today, probably more than ever, to make sure that we look at succession planning as more than just finding a replacement. So succession plans should really align with your organization's strategic objectives, address workforce needs, mitigate risks. It's really a risk mitigation plan, if you will, and also identify leadership gaps that you may have in your organization now and ones that you see coming in the future. So it does go beyond also just the top leadership roles, and it should extend to deep into the organization. So let's dive into it a little bit more. So succession planning is fundamentally about developing talent. And that's where this differs just from the heir apparent. Because if we are just naming an heir apparent or grooming the heir apparent, we're training Joe to fill Mark's role in the same way that Mark filled the role, and assuming that there's no changes to the role. And we know that we should be constantly looking at the roles. Is that role, adaptive? Does that role need to be changed to meet the needs of your organization today or tomorrow? So think instead, if we are grooming Sally to fill Sue's role, what we really should be doing is grooming Sally to fit a variety of roles. What is her career path? What are the things that your organization needs? So looking at it from an employee lens in terms of their career development, but also from an employer lens in terms of what you need now. What is that inventory of gaps? And then what do you see as gaps that you have in the future? So for example, in our own organization, we have a very senior level team. I'm very blessed to have team members that have been with me, anywhere from 15 to 20 years. And many of them also had really, really solid careers before they joined our team. So I need to really be developing not just heir apparents and those that are going to take those roles, but to look at what those roles are going to be. So instead of just simply slating the middle team members and some of our junior team members to grow and to move up into the next layer, it behooves me to stop and pause and say, as we transition, what do the roles look like of the future? How do we deliver services? What are other things that we need? The other challenge with just naming an heir apparent is it really clearly looks at a role in terms of the characteristics of that person that held it. And as you know, one CEO to another, one VP of marketing to another, brings their own special, unique personality and talents to it. So it's really key that you are not only developing people based on their career interests and having a career path for them, but then also looking at that job description and see if it needs to evolve, if it needs to actually evolve to meet your strategic plan. So I just mentioned strategic plan, and that's another key element of all of the succession planning. Your succession plans for your employee development should link and support your strategic plan as well. Okay, it's not simply replacing human with human. It's not replacing person with person. It's not putting somebody in that chair, in that office. What is the long-term goal? For example, maybe how you replace a team member that leaves could be actually eliminating that role. It could be hiring two people. It could be hiring a leader or promoting within somebody that has a whole different skill set, but it's actually a fit for where your organization is headed. So why is all this important if we look just where we are in terms of today's workforce? We've said it many times before, there's 5 generations in the workforce at this point. There's a lot of unique expectations with what that means. It presents both a challenge and an opportunity for succession planning. So younger generations in particular expect clear career paths and opportunities for development. And failing to provide these pathways can lead to high turnover. And we've noticed that their average turnover in architecture and engineering firms has gone in the last couple of years from 7 years to under 5. So it's really key that we are looking at all this. So how do you get started? Well, creating a successful succession plan requires a structured strategic approach. So it needs to be integrated with your overall business strategy and involve key stakeholders from across your organization. So think through asking some critical questions. If your organization is expanding, which roles will be essential for driving growth in those new markets? Or maybe the priority is stabilization, which roles are at most risk for turnover? Do you seem to have just a revolving door in a certain function within your organization? And then what skills are going to be needed to implement the strategic plan over the next 3 to 5 years? Will AI be a role? Is there other new technology or software you're going to be using? Is it other personal skills that you're going to need? So identifying these critical roles and required competencies, you can outline the must-have and the nice-to-haves. The formal succession plan should be a detailed document, and it should be a living and breathing document. Just based on all of the things I've said, I hope you understand the importance of this being adaptable and responding to the changing needs of your organization, changing needs of the marketplace. So a succession plan will identify, especially in the case of a leader leaving an organization, the identified interim leadership team, clear outline of who's responsible for what during that time, and a complete list of resources and a detailed communication plan. So that's really key, and a key component of the whole succession plan as well, is not just the employee development, talent development part of it, but also if somebody left tomorrow, where are you vulnerable? Do you have passwords? Do you have the information? Do you know the standard operating procedures? All of those things should be documented now, and they should be looked at periodically, maybe twice a year, maybe even more frequently. So succession planning is not just a crisis management tool. It is fundamentally a component of strategic leadership. We have helped many organizations put succession plans together, and we love the opportunity to talk to you about what your needs are and help you frame out how to mitigate this risk, number one, but even more important, how to develop your people and keep them engaged in your organization, as well as make your organization an employer of choice, somewhere somebody wants to go because they feel like they have a career path. So feel free to reach out to us. Encourage you to share our podcast with others, drop a comment, and be sure to subscribe. Thank you so much for listening, and have a fantastic day.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Advancing Excellence podcast. If you have any comments or questions, please get in touch with us at info@aoeteam.com. Don't forget to follow AOE on LinkedIn at Advancing Organizational Excellence, and be sure to subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode.